This is it, baby. We got power. We got juice.
Here goes the show.
Executive VP of Football Operations for the National Football League, Troy Vincent. I'll give you a tiny little piece of Troy Vincent, Mike Florio trivia.
Right. Let me hear it.
Born on the exact same day.
Is that right?
5 years apart.
Damn. Okay.
5 years apart, but still the exact same day.
That makes me think less of you, actually, a little bit. You must have some. You must have some messed up crap in your brain.
Or the split personality.
Here we go.
Right.
Here we go. Troy, let's get right to it. We got a lot to talk about because there's a lot going on, and we're all curious about the play that you have said on multiple occasions has become a dead play given the way the rules have evolved. The kickoff. Where are we going to go with the kickoff in 2024?
Well, we met with the special team coaches this past Sunday. That is, we being the competition committee, and it was our first, at least verbal, discussion with Coach Rizzi from the Saints.
Yeah, sure.
Who's kind of leading the efforts. Coach Hightower from the Bears.
Yeah.
And Coach Fossil, who I find to be just fantastic mind from Dallas as it pertains to special teams play. And they briefed the committee on what they've researched from the CFL, the USFL, the XFL, what has worked in other professional leagues around the world or what hasn't worked. And it seems as though there's a combination of a little bit of XFL, a little bit of USFL that they could bring into the play that can make it interesting. What I find to be fascinating is they potentially can put in another 1,500 to 2,000 plays. You know, you just start talking about that's a dead ceremonial play. We saw that. You go from 38% returns to 22. But to talk about setting up a play that potentially can put in an additional 2,500 plays, that's exciting.
And you mean that through the kickoff?
Through the kickoff.
Just the different ways they could do things, game plan. Hey, I could do this, right?
Yes.
And that was more through the XFL prism, or
it's a little bit of the XFL prism.
What is the USFL prism? I'm not even sure if I know.
You're lining up 10 yards apart.
Right.
Balls kicked.
Right.
No one moves until actually the returner, the receiver receives the ball. There's a huge penalty if there's a touchback. So they have elements of forcing a return.
Right.
So there's some of that. My challenge always, I go back to, this is how I got into football. I earned a scholarship at the University of Wisconsin because of special teams play. In 19, we removed the elements of the play that was significantly dangerous.
Yeah, right.
The wedge blocks, the short sets, the cross blocks.
Right.
You can see some of those elements possibly returning in some of that setup.
I would think so.
Yes.
The XFL formula for sure, right? We've kind of broken that down where you're going to have guys, what is it? They line up at their own 20-yard line, basically. You're going to have guys pulling and
start.
They're only 5 yards apart. They're only 5 yards apart, though. So I always thought, Troy, one of the big concerns was you have guys that get to a running start, maximum speed, and you get that collision, and that's the greatest chance for a catastrophic injury. When you have guys 5 yards apart, you're not going to have the same impacts.
Correct. But potentially the guys that break free, our skill position players, they're completely different than those of other leagues. You make a guy miss, now you have that defender on a runner quite quickly.
Right.
But when I think about it, as they were explaining it to the committee, I started thinking about Devin Hester and that with this kind of because it's really now it's one line of defense.
And once you break it,
break the crease, bye-bye.
Yeah.
So it was exciting to hear some of those elements. They meet tomorrow, Saturday morning as a full group, and the expectation is that we'll have something formally in writing so that we can discuss in Fort Lauderdale.
So their thought there, just to sum it up a little bit, is they're kind of trying to say, like, hey, some of these special returners are going to have a real advantage with this kind of setup here.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
And I also think
and they expressed that to you.
They expressed it, and I also asked the question, does this change your roster dynamic? Based off of that setup, as they were verbalizing it, it changes.
Yeah, you might not want some of the bigger special
4 to
teams
6
guys,
players on
right?
your roster.
Exactly right. Right.
Well, and I think it also would make teams more willing to put their special players in that spot because you don't have that same. Remember the Jason Sehorn injury where you've got the big collision. because if you do, it's all packed together, and you're only dealing with one possibility getting hit. You slip through that and you're gone.
Also, what was another?
Yeah, let me hear it.
In their interpretation of what they're looking for, 2 returners are back.
Oh.
So unlike the XFL, you had 2 so that you encourage the ball will be returned.
Yeah, be caught.
Yeah,
got a
so
guy
that
there.
was. And then what's the overall problem? I think for all listeners and viewers and the fans, it is trying to reduce the injury rate, bring it a little bit closer to what's acceptable for a normal scrimmage play.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
I heard some stuff last night, and again, I never know what can and can't be trusted when you're here in Indianapolis because there are varying amounts of alcohol involved in the conversations. But I heard something about possibly touchback moving to the 35 on a kickoff. Would this be part of the XFL model? Is that the penalty you were talking about?
This was part of the model that the special teams coaches are considering. Why? To encourage
The
returns.
return.
You
To
put the ball in
encourage
the
the
end
return.
zone, the other team's getting the ball at 35.
35.
But you know what? If
we
you're
also
facing,
think that with that, it will definitely increase scoring.
Right.
yeah. If you're facing a team with a Devin Hester quality return man, maybe you
Maybe
will
with
kick
the-
it into
with
the
the
end
end zone,
zone and just
yes.
say, put the ball on the 35. We don't want this guy burning us 2 or 3 times a game.
It's encouraging to hear that they're accepting of it because I had heard, some were like, I don't want to do the XFL thing, right? But have they gotten back into a
Chris,
corner basically where they're like,
it was a completely different. It was night and day.
Okay.
From 12 months ago.
okay,
Wow.
thank you. That's what I was going to say. I was like, I swear I talked to some special
Yeah.
teams coaches
It
that were
was
like, we're not doing that.
It was completely night and day.
Right.
We talked. We
Right.
can't have no options.
Right.
Right.
And John Mayer and others, they expressed that when the coaches finished 90 minutes later.
Yeah.
How excited they were that they've embraced this play. One, we got to keep the foot in the game.
Yeah.
You got to keep that
That's
play in
right.
the game.
That's
Is
right.
there a growing confidence then of a chance of getting to 24? Because I know not that long ago, it's like, 24 is not there for the XFL model. 24 is really not there for anything. We don't know what we're going to do.
Mike,
do you
I
feel like
believe
you can
so.
get to 24?
I believe so, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I
cool to
believe
hear.
so. Just
That's
them
news,
leaving
folks.
out. Yeah,
We're making news
yeah,
this morning.
Yeah, I believe so.
All
All
right.
right. All right. Damn,
Hip
that's-
drop tackle. I think we hit everything we can on the
That
kickoff.
was a
That's
good
very
one.
exciting, and that's very enticing about keeping the kickoff play in the game. Hip drop tackle. I know that's something that folks feel very strongly about. We've come around on it. It's kind of like you know it when you see it, but how do you articulate it in a rule?
So it's been a big topic of discussion. We actually discussed it with the Players Association on Tuesday. The more you see it, and the key here is what are the indicators? We talked we had the officials have been part of our meetings as well, so we can chime in how they see it.
Right.
Can they officiate it? The key indicators there, and Mike and Chris, have you seen, it's the grabbing,
Yeah.
it's the swivel,
Right.
and it's that unweighting on
Doing
the
a
back of the
pull-up,
leg.
right.
You can see when those 3 components kind of show up,
Yeah.
it's there. And we can't ignore the 20x injury rate.
Of course.
That's something that doesn't matter what side the table you're on. 20 times the injury rate, we got to make an adjustment to that play. And the talk is, do we pick it up during the week? Now, the officials actually felt like most of these hip drops are actually happening inside the tight end box.
Right.
So that ref and that umpire can actually pick it up. Most thought, well, it's a small guy tackling a big guy.
No.
In this particular case, it's the big guy tackling a smaller guy.
Right.
So
Trying to
using
get the
those
guy down to
mechanics.
the ground.
Yeah.
Because that's the other side of it. People say we got to get the guy to the ground. Like the Mark Andrews injury. Got to get him to the ground as quick as you can because he's getting close to the goal line. He's getting close enough where he could reach out and score a touchdown. So let's just get him down to the ground.
Here's
and
the play here.
Yeah.
I mean, but you know it. Now it's not the most egregious one of the year, right?
And
That
he
was
didn't
a
land
tough
on his
one.
legs. I think on that one he,
He
doesn't
does a
land on his
little,
legs.
right
You
there,
can see
right?
the
But it's
body,
still-
that body coming back. But again, this is not one of the most egregious.
Right.
This is one where you can talk about it, put it on there, but you have one from Geno Smith, Deshaun Watson,
Right.
The Tony Pollard.
Yeah, that's
there's
right.
some that are just crystal clear.
Geno here.
Here's a Geno play.
But this wasn't. Well, it wasn't flagged because it's not illegal yet.
Yeah.
Geno was under the impression it was. After the game, he was very vocal
We
about it.
talking Calais Campbell, Mac Jones the year before.
and
was
the
that?
players know it when it happens.
Yes.
It's why Lamar Jackson, after the Andrews play,
Right.
he responded that way because he saw that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where did this technique even come from? We've been playing football forever, and now just the past few years, there's the hip drop tackle pops up.
The evolution of the hawk tackle.
Yeah.
With the emphasis of moving or removing the head out of the game. People began to tackle. I grew up in an era where you put
the head in front.
You put the head in, they call
Right.
it bite the ball.
Right.
Put your head across the bow.
Right.
With all of the head impacts, you were now taught, and Pete introduced this, to hawk tackle.
Yeah.
Getting behind the ball carrier. I always taught if I get behind the ball carrier, it's a missed tackle.
Yeah. Right.
And it's become an evolution. The players adjusting. But listen, the players they're so athletic. I have full confidence when the players see enough of that shot.
Yeah.
Because you hear some players say, what do they don't want to? No, we're not trying to remove the hustle tackle. We're not trying to move your chase and get a guy down. But that play of grabbing, swiveling, and unweighting,
Right.
and some of it you never say is intentional, but you can see it shows up quite a bit.
Yeah.
We just got to get that one, clean that one up
Yeah.
before it gets.
It's intentional to get the guy down. I mean, that's where it's intentional.
That's
and
the
we got to remind
alternative,
everybody,
though.
this is a defensive football player here who's very conscious of that.
Right.
Right?
I mean, you still got to play defense, and we get that. And
Yeah.
we try to, remind people of that there still has to be an opportunity for the defensive players to tackle guys. So if you can't do the hip drop tackle and you're in that setting chasing Mark Andrews to the end zone, how are you supposed to get him on the ground? What are they going to be told to do?
No. We have thousands and thousands of tackles of
that
the
happen
player
the
of
right
doing
way.
the right way.
Right, exactly
We're just
right.
asking that you don't unweight.
Yeah.
Just stop and unweight
Do a
your
rodeo
body.
move. It's a rodeo
we
move.
see it. They're doing it every weekend, thousands of times, the right way, getting their body across. The defender body hitting the ground first.
To his point, it's a copycat league, right? We heard Devin McCourty, who you know real well as well and played, safety for all those years. He even talked about he saw Kyle Arrington, one of their DBs, do it a few years ago, right? And then they started to go, wait, that kind of works just to get him down like that.
It's working, and it's very common. We're seeing
But it's
about
really
2
dangerous.
a weekend,
Right.
Yep.
and it's
I mean, Dak Prescott would have been.
The injury rate's the key.
The broken
Yeah.
ankle.
The injury rate's
12X,
the key. If
20X.
it's that much,
It's
you gotta do
20X.
something about it. Got a couple more to get to real
Yeah.
quickly because you got to go. I mentioned getting Mark Andrews down before he can reach the ball to the end zone, and we know the risk when you reach the ball to the end zone.
I love this one.
I understand.
Give the
and-
ball back to the offense
Okay.
because they fumbled.
Right. It eliminates an opportunity to score a touchdown. It keeps scoring down. That's one of the reasons I don't like the rule. And it's nonsensical. If the ball goes out of the 1-inch line, the offense keeps it at the spot of the fumble. If it touches the pylon, the defense gets it at
Game of
the 20.
inches.
That's staying on the books, it sounds like.
Let me tell you. So this was the one I couldn't wait
Oh, I wish you would have invited me in for this.
to get to that discussion because it was boiling all year long in the office.
Right.
Now let's take into account.
Yeah.
It happened 3 times in regular season, 1 time in postseason.
Right.
Didn't happen in the 2022 season.
Right.
So I said, okay, we're going to talk about ball through the end zone. There's a few think that this is a very punitive penalty. John Mara, Stevens say, well, let's watch it. And then when the chairman says, well, wait a minute, 2 of the 3 were my guy.
Right.
If he just simply puts the ball in the right hand, which we're all taught
All right.
in elementary school when you first start learning football,
It doesn't happen.
it doesn't happen.
Right.
End of discussion. Move on.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. North Korea lives.
Somebody's
I call
listening.
it
Yeah.
North Korea, right? You lose your ball. It's their territory.
The
It's
better
North Korea.
example is hitting the ball over the fence into your neighbor's yard, and then it's gone. That the end zone is your neighbor's yard.
Yeah.
And
Now,
once you
they
drop
call
it
me
in there,
Sims
it's
Jong-un.
gone. Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
so I tried to bring it back
Right.
to make sure that everybody had a chance to speak. I said, well, is there an appetite? Let's just revisit. Maybe just put the ball on the 1-yard line for the
That's
defense.
our compromise.
That's
Spot of the
compromise.
fumble.
Talked
about
Spot
this,
of the
right.
fumble.
Move on.
Yeah.
Dead.
I love it.
That's
Okay.
good. What
I
about
like
the
it.
brotherly shove, tush push?
Didn't discuss it. It was one that I felt, and you get a feel for the room, a sense of the room. After the fumble through the end zone, when we discuss the push play with the committee during the season, later during the season, the evolution of the play,
Yeah.
there were more teams doing it.
Right.
They were very creative. That was a very creative look, and they were doing different
Little
things out
things
of it.
off of it. Yeah.
It was, hey, don't punish a team that strategically does it well.
Yes, that's right.
And there's very few injuries. What we want to avoid is what we think could happen, someone just coming over the top and injuring himself, but no discussion around it. It was one, if I felt like I brought up, move on.
Yeah. So you didn't even bother.
Didn't even
You
bother.
don't hear move on again.
But we will when we get to Florida. It is still one of those items that we want to just make sure that everybody, the whole membership, has a chance to weigh in on.
Gotcha.
But the competition committee, outside of Mike T, I would say that Mike T was because in his mind,
what was his argument?
He wants to make sure that the defense, like the point after attempt, the D tackles,
right.
the only way I have to still defend that play.
Right.
And for me to defend that play,
right.
I'll have my defenders are looking at doing things that we would do on a point after attempt or field goal
great
block.
Point by Mike T.
So, but he did say, nope. I'd be remiss if I didn't say what he said.
We saw some teams at the end of the year start to learn how to defend it. It looked like too, right?
But Philly, yes, they tried, but their success rate,
but still amazing, right?
Just amazing.
I've come around on that too. It's like they're doing it well,
right?
And there's a comfort in seeing it. You see them line up. It's kind of
like,
oh,
here it goes.
It's like
right.
I said, it's like the old sitcom where there was a catchphrase that you waited for it every episode. This is the catchphrase, right? This is Fonzie hitting the jukebox. We're used to seeing it.
As you all saw, Chris.
Yeah.
They really got creative with that play.
They did.
You get the look, and they start doing
pitches,
the option. They start doing reverses from it. So.
Right.
And the other point too, regardless of anything the competition committee discusses, the owners still can do whatever they want to do when they get down to Florida.
We always say we could have a discussion in here, but the membership will decide on what moves forward or what doesn't.
They'll send the coaches out to golf and then pass
it. That's right. Well,
hey, go golf. It's
you had a busy
us.
week. You got a busy day.
Rules.
We thank you for giving us some of your time and helping us understand what's going on. We're always paying attention to these issues, and we want what's good for the game. You want what's good for the game, so hopefully we'll keep working in that direction.
Mike, thanks for having me. Chris, thanks for having me.
Much respect.
He's Troy Vincent, Executive VP of Football Operations for the NFL. We'll be back with more PFT Live right after this. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.